What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay up to date with Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Turn the notification bell on if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Today's video was going to be, I told y'all in the offensive one, that it would be the defensive, players to look out for, what to look at training camp. However, recent news has surfaced, and I am pushing that video back to tomorrow. Because tomorrow's the start of training camp, so I'll have that video out then. But the biggest thing on every Ravens fan's mind is Chandler Jones. If you did not know, Chandler Jones requested a trade out of Arizona, which is very shocking to me. But he did it, and so let's talk about it. I think so many Ravens fans want Chandler Jones. If you guys didn't know, you probably don't know, but I am a massive Chandler Jones fan. This is not something that's new. If you want the receipts, you can go back to the Worst Take podcast, and I don't know what episode it is. We talked about how Chandler Jones is better than Von Miller, and has been for his career. Like, I am a massive fan of Chandler Jones. And if you don't know about Chandler Jones, he was in New England. He went to Arizona, and he was a guy that was an absolute monster in New England. However, he's playing in Bill Belichick's system, so you're not going to have overly ridiculous stats because it's not an individualized defense. It's always kind of a team building thing. Goes to Arizona, gets 11 sacks, 17 sacks, 13 sacks, 19 sacks, and last year he got injured and only had 1 sack. 2019 was probably his best season when he had 19 sacks. He also had 8 forced fumbles. He had 3 the year before, 2 the year before that, 4 the year before that, 4 the year before that. This dude forces fumbles, gets to the quarterback, and makes big hits. And so, why would the Ravens not be a perfect place to go? I mean, this is the last year of his contract, which is a major thing. So it would be something where I don't think the Ravens would go into it if they were to trade for him, like they did with Yannick Ngakoue. I don't think that they would look at it and be like, hey, let's trade for this guy, see if he works out for a year. I think it would have to be hey, agree to an extension. We make the trade. You're here in Baltimore for 4-5 years. I think that would definitely be the way that it's done, because last year the Yannick Ngakoue situation didn't really work out too well for the Ravens because he wasn't able to perform to the standards that the Ravens were hoping for. However, I think Chandler Jones is a significantly better pass rusher than Yannick Ngakoue, and that's no disrespect to Yannick. It's just that Chandler Jones is top 5 in the NFL. Or at least has been. We will see what he is coming off of injury, which I think does lower his trade value, which is very good for the Ravens. However, the Cardinals have said that they don't want to trade him, which makes sense. I was surprised by this move because of what the Cardinals had done. They brought in J.J. Watt, if you remember. They brought in A.J. Green. They are looking to try and contend, bringing in these veterans. Now, A.J. Green is no longer the receiver he once was. J.J. Watt is still a very good defensive lineman, so he should be able to very help. And they were like, boom, we got 2 elite pass rushers, Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt. Like, finally, we can start really building up this defense. And now that Chandler Jones has requested out, and they don't expect him to sit out training camp. It would be one thing if he was to sit out training camp. Then they'd be like, "Oh man, we really have to trade him." They don't think he's going to sit out training camp. So it would have to take a good amount to trade for him. So what would that entail? In my opinion, I think it would probably take a 2nd-round pick. I don't think it would take a 1st-round pick. I think it would take a 2nd-round pick and some change, especially if it's the Ravens. If it was the Jaguars trading for him because they're likely to be a bad team, 2nd-round pick could do, because it would just be like a couple picks later than a 1st-round pick. But the Ravens, it may be like 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick, which is ironic because the Ravens also traded a 4th-round pick to the Cardinals in their trade last year during the draft. But overall, a 2nd-round pick and some change could absolutely get it done, in my opinion. Now, one of the biggest questions that people would have with this is, could the Ravens pay him? So I'm going to look initially, and then I'm going to look long-term for the contract situation that they would have to sign him to the extension of. So initially, Chandler Jones' contract right now, it's a $14.5 million deal. He has a $20 million cap hit. However, he had a $3 million signing bonus, and he had a $2 million restructure. And so would the Ravens be able to pay that? Not right now. No, they would not be able to pay it. because they only have about $8 million, a little bit more than $8 million. However, the Ravens will likely be making cuts. The Ravens would definitely have to restructure contracts, probably restructure Brandon Williams' contract, maybe talk with Marlon Humphrey and get a restructure there. They could get it done. I really do believe that they actually could get it done. They could make the $8 million. And they only have to make the $8 million work for this year. Because next year, if you don't know, the Ravens have a lot of free agents. And that means that they definitely have a plan. I'm not going to say that they don't have a plan, but there are a lot of options that they could go to. I think if you look at it, and I'm going to go through some of the names, I think most Ravens fans know the names that might not be here next year. Calais, Brandon Williams, Sammy Watkins, Patrick Ricard, Jimmy Smith, happy birthday, Jimmy Smith, Chris Board, Pernell McPhee, Justin Ellis, LJ4, Anthony Levine, Mark Andrews, Anthony Averett, Tristan Castillo. That's about it. Oh, Patrick McCarry. That's about it for the and Deshaun Elliott and Bradley Bozeman. Sorry, almost forgot those two. But that's it for there's other players that are on practice squad and things like that. But those are the main players that may not be here. So the Ravens definitely have a plan. They're thinking about it and they're saying, okay, we're giving Lamar his extension, or at least we plan on giving him his extension. And I'm going to throw out a ballpark number. We're paying him $42 million next year. So there's $42 million locked up. We want to extend Mark Andrews. That's about, we'll say $13 million. His market value is about $12.5 million. Typically, teams overpay. I would say $13 million. So that's about $56 million, $55 million. And then potentially they want Deshaun Elliott. We'll see. So maybe they set aside another $10 million to maybe bring back a couple of, Bradley Bozeman they'll want to bring back. So, maybe that's $10 million, $5 million for another. Maybe they're like, okay, $75 million that we need to be extending. And obviously I don't know the exact numbers. This is what Eric DeCosta is working on. And he's thinking, okay, this is what I want. And then potentially they'll have a little bit of money for free agents. However, right now, if you looked at it in Chandler Jones, his expected market value per spot track is about $16 billion. Could the Ravens save, because they don't want to just add in the $16 million and get rid of all the money that they would want for their free agents next year? That you don't want to do that. So they may look at it and say, okay, how do we want to make up this money to be able to give them a likely 4-year, $16 million a year contract with a heavy signing bonus? Well, who's one player that's making similar money that could be let go? And I think that it would have to be Mark Andrews, which I want to hear your comments down below. Would you sacrifice Mark Andrews after this year? So how it would work, I'll go through the situation, then let me know what you guys think about it. So this would not be a trade including Mark Andrews. You would keep Mark Andrews on the team for after this year. Next year, you would, with a first-round pick, I don't know the tight end class, first-round pick, second-round pick, draft a tight end to be the replacement tight end. Or if there's a really good pass-catching, third tight end on the market, you draft him. And then you look at it and you say, okay, after next year, we have Chandler Jones. We've extended him. Unfortunately, we have to let Mark Andrews walk. And would that be worth it? In my opinion, I think it would. I love Mark Andrews. I truly do. I really do. I think he's a beast of a tight end. However, he's had some drops issues. That's really the only issue with him. I mean, there's nothing else. It's just the drops issues. However, that's not a major thing. I want the Ravens to re-sign Mark Andrews. However, if it's Mark Andrews or a premier edge rusher that would help not only, in the present, but he would help long-term, because he would absolutely help Odafe Oweh, Dalen Hayes, even Tyus Bowser. Think about all of those guys that are young edge rushers on this team. Having a veteran would make all the difference, because we don't have a good veteran. No offense to Pernell McPhee. However, I'm talking about a really good pass rusher that can be a veteran. Pernell McPhee is a good veteran to have. He's a good leader. However, having a guy that has experience being the best, he's led the league in sacks before. Chandler Jones has. Having a guy like that, similar to Justin Houston, that type of leadership is very valuable. And Chandler Jones is better than Justin Houston. He is significantly better than Justin Houston currently. I know he's coming off of injury, but he, in the last, 10 years, he's had 2 seasons where he didn't have 10 sacks. His rookie year and his 3rd season. And remember, that was in New England, where you're not given opportunities very often to be an individual player. Remember, they had Dante Hightower and all those guys back then. So overall, Chandler Jones is going to be a beast. Could the Ravens get him? Absolutely. I think they have the draft capital to be able to acquire him. They would be able to restructure contracts to make up the money. And if they were, the only way I can think about them being able to extend him would be if they got rid of, unfortunately, Mark Andrews. And that's tough, but I think that would be worth it. And they would be able to have a terrific edge rusher, 2 terrific cornerbacks, all locked up for the future. And then obviously they're very young pair, like Matabike and stuff like that would also be there. But that would make this defense absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even PFF said that Baltimore was the perfect spot for Chandler Jones. So let me know in the comment section down below if you guys want Chandler Jones, what you think the deal would be, your thoughts on the Mark Andrews thing, because I know that's difficult. Obviously they could make it up in other ways. However, it's like, do you want to sacrifice 8 players or whatever, making that much money? They could do it without the Mark Andrews thing. I just think that would be the safest bet to plan on, to be able to draft a replacement and stuff like that, which is really unfortunate. I do like Mark Andrews. If he was able to take a pay cut and stay in Baltimore, I would absolutely love that. But thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. Subscribe. Well, I guess I already said subscribe. But thank you everybody, and I will see all of you again tomorrow.